come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por
We
favor,
invite you, if
manténganse
you
alejados
dare,
de las
to
puertas.
visit tonight's episode in Twista, in this elevated travel doorless chamber.
Hello and welcome to Miles from Main Street, your Far From Disney podcast. My name is Mikhailo.
And I'm Brian.
And we're here to talk about Disney World,
But especially coping away from Disney.
which we know a lot about being from the Midwest. Here at Miles from Main Street, our preferred travel agency is Magical Vacations by Kimberly. Kimberly is a Disney expert and can handle all of your Disney planning needs. She can also plan Universal and all major cruise lines. Contact Kimberly at magicalvacationsbykimberly@yahoo.com.
And find her on Facebook and Instagram under Magical Vacations by Kimberly.
So today on Miles from Main Street, you guys may not know it, but Brian and I know it. We are recording this live. Well, not live, but we are in the same room together.
Face to face.
It's a lot of fun. we've already talked about a lot, so hopefully we'll have a lot of good content for you guys. But today we're going to do some resort reviews. Brian is going to talk about a resort that he's been to. He's going to do a little bit of a deep dive for you guys and give you guys the highlights. And I'm going to go over a resort that I've been to. So Brian, I think we talked about you talking about Contemporary.
Yeah, so we got to stay at the Contemporary, which was something that we did not expect to be able to do. We were staying off site, and I actually went on and found this really great deal to stay in the garden wing. And so we took it. Now, for our trip, as I had said before, we had driven down and they were pushing to use online check-in, which I hadn't really used before. So I let them know, yes, we're on our way, and they would text me when the room was ready. So on the way there, they send me the room number, and we get all of our check-in type stuff taken care of electronically, really. So we get to the hotel, and you come into this like gateway, and there's a guard there, and you just have to basically scan your magic band, and the gate goes up. And so the garden wing, if you're looking at the building from the Magic Kingdom, it's off to the right. It's along the canal that the boats use, the water bridge. I think that water bridge there is so cool. So it's right next to that canal, and then part of it looks out onto Bay Lake. So you drive around the convention center to the parking lot right there. The garden wing has its own parking lot, which I thought was wonderful. So we had really good parking. I sent in a request for a room to be on the first floor, kind of at the front of the building. We wanted to be looking out at the pool. And if you're on the first floor, you get a patio, and you'll get a couple chairs. You can sit outside, drink your coffee, whatever. So I asked for first floor, front of the building. So of course Disney gave me third floor in the back of the building. And I'm not one to complain. It doesn't matter to me, just a few extra steps. And it ended up being a wonderful room. It was kind of a walk getting our stuff in. They did not have any of the luggage carts there in that entryway for the garden wing. You could go up to the other building and get it. But by the time I walked over to the other building and came back, I might as well have just carried my stuff. We didn't have like a ton that we had to get back there. So, we just carried it back there. I got kids that are old enough to carry their stuff, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And our room, like I said, third floor on the back of the building. So we were able to look out at Bay Lake, and we were looking dead straight at Discovery Island, which was really cool. And one of the really cool things about this building is that they all have patio doors that open. Unfortunately, the second and third floors only have a Juliet balcony, so you don't actually get to walk out and sit out there. You just get to open the door, and you have a railing right there. But we were able to sit on the edge of the bed with the door open. We had chairs. The couch is kind of over by that door, and we could sit there and we could watch the electric water pageant right from our room, which was incredible. There are 5 people in my family, so the room comes with 2 beds, queen beds, and actual queen beds, not the full size that they like to call queen or whatever. They're actual queen beds. And then the sofa, it's really cool. All you got to do is grab the back of the sofa and pull down, and it's a bed. There's a bed on like the back of the sofa, which was perfect for my 8-year-old. So we all fit in there very comfortably, plenty of room. You've got a desk you can sit at, plenty of shelves that we were able to throw all of our knickknacks we were buying on. They had the toilet is kind of portioned off from the rest of the bathroom, so that you don't have to share, like wait for someone to be in the bathroom. You can kind of share it at the same time. So that was the room. We were very comfortable. The 5 of us did come with a refrigerator, a Keurig, and they provided you with K-cups of Joffrey's coffee, Mikhailo, which I know you love that Joffrey's.
Yeah, I'll pass on the Joffrey's coffee for right now. I'll give it a chance at some point, but I'll see what I think of next time I'm down there.
Yeah, well, as you know, I bought extra after I got home. I mail ordered some in. So yeah, so we went up to that night when we checked in. We were up in the lobby, which is on the first floor, and you can walk out to, like, they've got a entryway that you can drive up to, and we didn't use that obviously because we were back in the garden wing, but that's where the check-in desk is. And so we went up there, and I can't remember the question I had at the time, but I asked a question, and then she had asked who we were and whatever it was, and then she came over to us as we were kind of figuring out our game plan at that point. We were heading over to the Poly for dinner. And she said, do you guys want to finish your check-in? So here's the tip for you. Like, online check-in wasn't full online check-in, at least in my case. We booked this room 2 weeks out. So they weren't able to send us, we were able to order our magic bands and get them to us before we left. So because we had booked 2 weeks out this room, we had to go to the front desk to get our magic bands. So, she was like, oh, we want to finish up the rest of your check-in then. And we got our magic bands, we got these cards, or the luggage tags, excuse me, we got luggage tags. And then we were just kind of standing there figuring things out. That's when she came over and she said, do you have your car here too? And we're like, yeah. And she explained that, and which it's not like that, I guess now, like things have gotten better, but at that time, bus transport was not good. So they said, if you can drive somewhere, definitely do that. And I bring that up because, later in my discussion, it may not be as good for using the public transportation. So we thanked her for that information, and then we jumped on the monorail and went over to the Poly. I'm not going to give you a blow by blow of our trip. I've already done that, right? So, but the cool thing was that in the mornings, I would wake up in the morning. We'd say, okay, we're going to have breakfast, and I would mobile order our breakfast, because that's the thing now, is you got to mobile order everything. And I would say, we're here, and then I'd walk over to the building, which was a 3-minute walk. It's not far. And it was always beautiful outside because it was Florida spring break, So I would walk over, I'd get the food, and then I would bring it back to the room, and we would eat, open the door. My wife and I they had this rolling table that's part of the desk. And we'd roll that over to the window, and we'd open up the door, and we'd eat our breakfast as we were looking out at the lake and stuff. And that was always really nice. And then the pool was like a minute walk from where we were, because the pool is kind of right by that garden wing. You don't have to go 14 floors to get to your room. you're only up 3 floors. So if you want to grab a elevator, you can do that, or you can do the 2 flights of stairs. It's not a big deal, right? I really, really do like the garden wing, and that's hard for me to compare to the main building because I haven't been in the main building. And when we were sitting at the pool, I'd look up at that main building and see people sitting on their balconies 8 floors up or whatever, and be like, dang, that'd be nice, you know. Um, but I really liked our location, and I liked being able to get to the pool quickly, get to the other building really quickly. So, I definitely think that staying in the garden wing is worth the money. I don't know that it's worth paying double to go stay in the regular building. I've heard as well that when the parks get emptied out, specifically Magic Kingdom, that one main elevator bank that they have in the main building, that gets pretty backed up with people trying to get to their rooms. And again, they have stairs, but do you want to do 14 floors of stairs after you've been in the park all day? Probably not. So it was really nice. The main attraction there that everybody wants to go to is Chef Mickey's, right? We were not able to get a reservation there despite trying every day and working hard at stalking it and trying to get in there ever since we were booked to go there. We did not get in there. We have eaten there. It was great. I've heard it's better since the reopening because it's all family style. But right next to that is Contempo Cafe, which is their quick service. And they have a lot of the same food that they're serving over at Chef Mickey because they're sharing a kitchen. They have some really nice desserts. They have good food. We had some really nice meals from there. So I definitely use that as your option to eat. And the mobile order made it really nice because you could just walk in, grab it, and go. Then one night, or Friday night when we were there, we were at Magic Kingdom, and things are changing so fast now that Magic Kingdom's getting more food, but like after 6 o'clock, it's hard to find somewhere to eat over there, specifically when you're trying to mobile order it too. So we were kind of standing in line at Space Mountain trying to figure that out, and I was able to mobile order from the Wave, which I understand the Wave is now changing. It's they've sent some of that to another area because they're remodeling it, but I believe it's going to be something else. Hopefully they're still going to have some of the great dishes that they have there, but we were able to mobile order from there, which was excellent. Like, I'd never eaten at the Wave before. I'd had a drink in there one time, but we were able to just put in a mobile order like anywhere else, walk up, and we said, hey, we got a mobile order. And they said, oh, walk down this, walk towards the bar. And then someone grabs it and hands us the bags of food. And we went up to the 4th floor, the main concourse, where I believe they call it the Grand Canyon Concourse. And we just grabbed a table and ate our dinner there. And it was wonderful. I love sitting in that concourse because you get the monorail going through. You've got Chef Mickey's. You can kind of see Goofy, or some of the characters pop their heads over the wall once in a while, and it's a neat area to hang out in. And so we got to eat our dinner, which was really good, and that was nice there. So I guess, as long as I'm talking about food, my wife and I were able to eat at California Grill, which I've mentioned on the show before. They do have a dress code, and they will have shirts for you to put on if you don't have appropriate wear. I was watching a video and somebody walked up with a tank top and they handed him a button-up shirt to put on over it. So, you want to be prepared for that. They are up on the 15th floor. You can see Epcot fireworks and Magic Kingdom fireworks from there, depending on where you're sitting. We got there an hour early and we were able to get into the lounge. I think I've told this story before, but we were able to sit like right on the window and see the fireworks right from where we were sitting. If you do not get to eat during the fireworks, save your receipt, come back, let them know that you were there, and they have a balcony you can watch fireworks from, which is really cool. So definitely use that to your advantage if you get a reservation there, which it might be breakfast, it might be lunch, it might be dinner. You can always go up and watch fireworks that day. So let's say you don't get to, but you want to watch fireworks from over there. They have a viewing area off of that main concourse that you can go out and sit in some seats that look over at Magic Kingdom, and you can see the fireworks from there. The first day, my wife and I said, let's go get some coffee. And we left the kids in the room, and we went up and we got our coffee, and I said, all right, now come with me. And I took her out on that fourth floor balcony, and we sat in that spot and just looked at the Magic Kingdom, drank our coffee. It was so relaxing. It was so nice. It was like, that was kind of my I'm home moment. And for that trip anyway. And it definitely is a great spot. The stairwells are open on that side, so you can go on any floor of those stairwells and be able to watch fireworks from there. There's a walkway over to Bay Lake Tower that you're able to watch from there too. All great views. Unfortunately, they weren't going when we were there, so we missed out on that. But seeing the fireworks, I think, is really neat because it gives you a completely different perspective of it. So I don't know, Mikhailo, what am I missing? What do you want to know about the Contemporary?
That was a pretty decent overview of everything that you experienced. I've never actually stayed at the Contemporary, but I've definitely ventured around the Contemporary before, and have had been gotten really excited about possibly staying there. I just love the A-frame design. I actually love kind of the history that kind of goes along with the Contemporary, how it was the first resort kind of made for Disney. And everything like that, but it's just so cool. I mean, I pass through it every single time I take the monorail, which is also very cool. And I love making the joke. I did it this past time, and my brother and sister laugh at me. But every single time we go through it, I always go, "Oh my God, we're going through the hotel," because people say that without fail. People will say, "Oh my God, we're going through the hotel." So I love saying that and sounding like a complete noob when I do that. And so that's always, and people will give me looks, and I'll look around to see the people giving me looks, and I know better, but that's always funny. But yeah, the Contemporary, I definitely have a soft spot for it because of its vicinity to Magic Kingdom. I would love to be able to just like throw on my shoes and walk on over to Magic Kingdom. I think it would actually be cool to have. I don't know if I'd ever be able to get myself to do it, but have a trip that's just purely Magic Kingdom based, where you just have like 4 days of park tickets for Magic Kingdom, and you can just go back and forth. It just enjoying Magic Kingdom like at your own pace. And the way to do that would be staying at Contemporary, because that would be so easy to get back and forth between the park and the hotel. And that's definitely something that I've thought about before. The same thing with like staycations and stuff like that. Like, I just don't know if I'd be able to get myself to do that because I'd want to be doing everything else.
Yeah, and the beauty of staying at Contemporary is that you walk over to Magic Kingdom. So if you're going right away in the morning, you can make that walk and you're not tired, and you can get there before people are jumping on the monorail and stuff. But when you leave, you've got the monorail to take you right back. So you don't have to walk. If you're already tired and exhausted, you can do that. Or if you wanted to get out of there quick to go grab a bite, you can just jump on the monorail quick, and it's easier than the walk sometimes. So that's the beauty of staying at the Contemporary, is that you're just so close.
Yeah, and that's what I've always thought would be very cool. It's just its vicinity to the park, and just how connected to the park it is. I feel that same way about all the resorts on the monorail loop, but Contemporary definitely has a soft spot for me. And I think at some point in my life, I want to be able to stay there and kind of venture around all the areas. I have been actually on a couple of those balconies before. My brother and sister and I ventured around there at one point and actually got ourselves onto one of the balconies on one of those floors facing Magic Kingdom, and I had to say that view is just great. Just on one of those small balconies alone, looking out at Magic Kingdom, it's just the coolest thing. It's just so cool getting a view like that, and being able to stay in a hotel like that and having those views would be just simply amazing. So yeah, Contemporary very high on my list of places I want to stay, and it definitely has a soft spot in my heart for it. The the resort I want to talk about today is Art of Animation. I feel like I know Art of Animation pretty well. I've stayed there once, but I make trips back there quite often. I was back there again on my last trip to kind of walk around and kind of take the whole place in, and it's definitely a kind of resort that you can do that with all the theming. But um, Art of Animation is technically a value resort. However, some of the prices will tell you differently.
And you could probably stay in Garden Wing for the price that you're going to pay for a suite at Art of Animation. Like, I have trouble with the value label on both Pop Century and Art of Animation because of the cost. But it is built like a value resort where you're just getting one, well, now two modes of transportation, and you're just getting a food court. So you have that portion that fits the value, but you're not getting a value price.
Exactly, yeah, and I've definitely stayed in the time that I stayed there. I actually stayed in one of the suites, which is, I mean, definitely the way to go. But they do have those Little Mermaid rooms, which are a little more value priced, but that's one small part of the resort. Really, everything else, it's all suites. But I actually did use when we stayed there. I used mobile check-in, and this was a while ago. So mobile check-in was actually pretty new at that point. But we used it, and I've talked about this in the past. We used it because we just wanted to get ourselves to the parks right away. So we did mobile check-in, and we got ourselves to the parks, and we just started our day. So we've talked about this before, but definitely something that you want to do. But that when you first walk in, that whole lobby is very cool because if you when you walk in, you're seeing artwork all on the right hand wall, and it's all kind of like basic sketches of characters from different movies that the resort is themed by. You can see like Mater, like what really early concepts of Mater looked like. You can see really early concepts of Nemo, and this is all pulled straight from Pixar and Disney Animation. So I definitely thought that was very cool. The area that you check in on the left hand side, I think I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a rainbow bridge type thing kind of going on, and it's supposed to be something like Rainbow of Colors. And that's kind of supposed to make you super excited about checking in and your vacation and everything. But that all of that kind of leads you up to Ink and Paint. It's like Ink and Paint gift shop or something like that. But then right in front of that, there's this chandelier with a whole bunch of storyboard pictures. And if you look closely, they're all signed, and that's because they're all actual parts of storyboard from the actual movies that are themed in this resort. And so you're going to see a lot of that, a lot of original things that animators or Disney and Pixar gave to this resort to be able to kind of plus it up that way. And it's very cool to see. So as you walk into the gift shop, which is actually one of the bigger gift shops that Valley Resorts have. And I thought it was very cool. Pretty decent sized gift shop. It's got some stuff in there that is Art of Animation specific, which I think Pop Century also does have stuff like that, but you never really see on some of the all-star resorts, you never see anything that says all-star sports or all-star movies. So that's very cool to see that Art of Animation has some resort-specific gear. And I mean, you'll find all the typical things in there, like from sunscreen to, I think they have areas where you can kind of like pick up food and stuff like that. But straight through that gift shop is the food court. Now, this has been touted as the best food court on property, and I would 1,000,000% agree. This food court is head and shoulders over any other. Like, it's not even close. Head and shoulders over any other value resort. But it still kind of has that like cafeteria style feel. But the kind of stuff that you get when I was there, I was able to order a hamburger that had a cinnamon bun to it, and bacon, and like caramelized bacon and stuff like that. It was insane. I'm gonna have to look it up later and see what it was, because it was like one of the best things I've eaten on Disney property, and I've eaten some pretty decent areas. So I do not say that lightly. But the food there definitely a big step up from a lot of the other value resorts. But it still kind of has that cafeteria style feel to it. When you get there, this is kind of a fun thing to see, and it's kind of evolved over the years. When you get there, most of the time, my family will run and get those refillable cups. We've always loved those refillable cups. I still use them every so often and put coffee in them and stuff like that. But now those actually have chips in them. This has kind of been going on for a little while. This isn't new, but it'll actually know how long you're staying, and then you can only fill up your drinks for that amount of time, for however long you're staying. So it's kind of a cool thing. We used to bring our old cups with us, and that was kind of a little bit of a hack, but I mean, I think Disney figured that out because a lot of people were doing that. But I just love that. I love being able to get that cup. And there's just something about walking out of your room and kind of walking through the resort and getting to that main cafeteria area and like filling up your cup. I don't know why I just love that, even though it's kind of, these value resorts are humongous. And so just walking through all of that is never that great, but I love everything about these resorts. The theming is amazing. But let's talk about that. When I stayed there, I stayed in the Cars area. There's a Cars area. There is a Finding Nemo area, which is the middle. There's a Lion King area, and then the area that isn't a suite area is the Little Mermaid area. But we stayed in the Cars area, and that was kind of right hand, kind of right off of the Finding Nemo area. And so really our room wasn't that far away from the main building. But that's one thing you kind of have to understand is with these value resorts, it's several buildings. Everything's kind of like laid out a little kind of like a motel. And so not everything is connected. The cool thing about these new buildings that are different from other value resorts, though, is they actually have like you actually go into a building at Art of Animation. A lot of the other value resorts are literally like motels where the doors are on the outside, and you enter your room from outside and then go into your room. Here, you actually enter a building, which I thought was very cool, and it's different from a lot of the other places that you go that are value resorts. But the theming in these value resorts is always second to none. It's always very, very cool. When we were walking through the Cars area, they kind of have these places set up where you can like take pictures with the characters and everything, and just the whole area. The pool was cone themed, kind of after the Cozy Cone Cafe, and they had like cabanas that were cones and everything. It's just it's just Disney. Like you would never, I mean, you would completely expect Disney to do this, but you would never think you'd ever be able to see it. But they have all these different characters set up in different areas. And I mean, even when I haven't been staying there, I'll show up to Art of Animation and kind of walk around that area and take pictures all the time because they're just really cool little photo spots. And that's the case with all of the other areas. Finding Nemo area is definitely the biggest. It's got the big blue pool in it, which is actually the biggest pool on property. And something fun, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they actually would pump music into the water. So if you would go underwater, you can actually hear Nemo and Marlin and everybody talking. I always thought that was cool, and so you could hear music under the water. So the pool is really cool. These value resorts are always kind of trying to give you things to do. A lot of the resorts in general will have like movie nights where they'll bring out like a giant inflatable TV screen and they'll put movies up on there. Another thing that you'll find at some of these value resorts are like little games here and there. Like they had ping pong out there. They had I think they had like not like lawn darts, but like X's and O's, like tic-tac-toe type stuff. I think they even had like bags out there at one point. But they're always kind of trying to give you a little bit more. And especially because they know that these value resorts, most likely you have kids there. I mean, where they're not going to have people playing bags at the Grand Floridian. So they know that most likely you have kids. A lot of bigger groups come to these value resorts. So that's another thing to think about. So they're always kind of trying to like jam pack the fun and the activities. So they always kind of have something going on. But that's always fun, and that's pretty normal for a lot of these value resorts. But I've always had a really decent time at these resorts, and I've never really felt like I was getting shortchanged with a lot of these resorts.
If I could jump in and do a little comparison with the contemporary, as you were talking this whole time, I kept thinking of Bob Iger and his little thing that he came up with for Shanghai Disney, where he would say distinctly Disney. And I've heard them use that now in certain areas of advertising specifically. So yes, Art of Animation and those other value places, you're going to go there and you're definitely going to find it distinctly Disney, right? They're finding that is being too much of a draw. And so now we've seen some retheming. They've put Moana into the Polynesian. They're currently working on the contemporary and adding in the Incredibles, which I've seen pictures of these rooms and I think they look really cool. Like I don't see any problem with it. You know, like I know some people think it's a little too much, but I like it.
Oh, for sure. I think those rooms are very cool. And I've kind of always thought that. I've always thought that some of these deluxe resorts kind of have a little less Disney. I've always thought that was okay because I just enjoy staying at nice hotels anyway. I mean, who doesn't? But I've always enjoyed kind of staying at hotels and like staying somewhere nice and fancy. That's always fun. But having that like little Disney flair. Now, for a long time, I've stayed at value resorts, so I've always kind of had Disney just like hitting me in the face, like 2-story Mickey Mouse phones. Like that's like what's been at the resorts that I've been staying at, like larger than life Disney, and I've always loved that. And so I think it's very cool that they're including more into these resorts that you end up paying a whole lot for. Something that I do think is cool though is I mean, Art of Animation didn't really need this because they already had like pretty decent rooms when they were built, but they have been going through to all of the other value resorts and re-theming these rooms. Not really re-theming, but kind of like touching up these rooms and giving them like a more modern feel. They're doing things like vaulting the beds so you can put your bags under your beds and stuff like that. Just kind of like these simple things that are making these rooms even better. So I definitely really appreciate stuff like that. And it's definitely making these we do try to stay positive on this podcast, but there are some times where I've been to some value resort rooms where they definitely feel like a Motel 6, but it's the best darn Motel 6 you'll ever stay at because it's at Disney. I've said this before to my friends. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but every day that I wake up and I'm not waking up at a Disney resort, I'm sad a little bit. So it doesn't even really need to be. It can be the Motel 6 of Disney, and I'm totally okay with it.
I, talking about those outdoor doors, like my honeymoon, we stayed at Coronado, and that's what we had there too. So I know that like Port Orleans, they've got the same type of system. You're walking out your room to the outdoors. Um, I There's something about that too that's, there here I go again, distinctly Disney. Like I just have that feeling, and I agree with you. Every day I wake up that I'm not at Disney, I'm a little sad. Uh, uh, the rooms at the All Stars, they've been changing, and they've been making a Murphy bed in there, which I think is great because there was never any room in those rooms, and now you've got this Murphy bed that you can get rid of basically, so you have some room. Um, it's yeah. So staying in these rooms, you really need to think about what you want out of the room, and they're really doing a good job of making it so it's easier to want to just, or instead of just sleep in a room, to actually stay in the room, and getting your theming wherever you're staying. So the contemporaries upping their game with it. Um, I wouldn't be surprised, just to go on a small tangent, I wouldn't be surprised if Grand Floridian starts bringing Mary Poppins in.
Oh, for sure. It's funny. I think I've kind of always kind of gotten that vibe from the Grand Floridian anyways. Even if it's not like kind of hitting you in the face. So I could definitely see that happening and kind of poking its head in there a little bit. But yeah, I think they're definitely trying to take a lot of their popular IP and spread it around the resort a little bit more. Not that, I mean, part of me kind of says like, hey, go with these cool original ideas that we've had and like don't be pushing more Disney into it. However, I know how great it is to walk around a fully themed area of a movie. So I mean I've kind of have feel both sides where it's make just let Disney be what Disney is. However, we all know Disney's never finished. Disney is always evolving. Disney is always changing, and I love that. Um, I love that there's something. I mean, I could be going again this year and find something completely new. And I'm not talking like something small. I'm talking like something huge. That Disney's always working on. Like there's always something. So I definitely love that about it. And I love that the resorts are getting a little bit of love too now. Because as you can tell, we can talk and sit and talk about resorts forever, and we just talked about two today. And so yeah, it's just definitely something I love to do. It's always the first thing that I think about when I'm thinking about going down to Disney again is, oh, what resort am I going to stay at? Am I going to stay off property? Am I going to stay on property? Am I going to stay on property? Am I going to stay at value, moderate, or deluxe? Like what are we doing? Are we going to do a split stay? That's one thing that I've kind of toyed around with before, and I've heard people have a lot of fun with. But it's always very fun, and it's always something that I really enjoy. And I'm happy that more resorts are opening up with COVID and everything. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and it's great that they're getting these things reopened and that they're going to have everyone coming down. I know that park passes have been opening a lot more. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they've gone to full capacity at this point and just haven't announced it. I know there's a third quarter call coming up soon, so we might hear that at that point. But, I feel like I need to go talk about the pool at Contemporary a little bit. The Bay Lake Tower has their own pool, and only the people at Bay Lake Tower, which that's the DVC wing, they can only use that pool. So, but the contemporary pool is really cool. Like, you have a very large area. There's a hot tub kind of in the middle of the pool that it is usable, and then they have a water slide at the deluxe one, which you're not going to get at the big blue pool at the Art of Animation. My kids loved having that slide, and there's another hot tub underneath that slide too. And then they had what they called the quiet pool, which was out towards the lake a little more. We didn't actually use that one at all. We just really enjoyed where we were. It wasn't incredibly busy. Even when they cut off admittance because it was full to capacity, because they had to limit it during the restrictions. Like, it didn't even feel busy at that point, even though it was full. It didn't feel busy. So that was really nice. Staying there, it just, as busy as the Contemporary can be, and you'll see that if you go there just to eat a meal or to visit, you'll see it's a busy place. It still is kind of a quieter place than, say, Art of Animation. Like, if you're going to breakfast at Art of Animation, get ready to wait, because it's going to be busy because people are getting ready to head to the park.
Definitely. And that's definitely another thing to keep in mind, is that these value resorts are meant to just push as many people as possible into those resorts. They're almost always booked because for that reason. That just Disney always has deals on them because they just those are their money makers. They really want to push as many. They want to have all those rooms filled. And a lot of times, like I said, it's large groups. If it's not large families, if it's like dance, like cheer squads, stuff like that, it's pretty common that you see like large groups of high schoolers hanging out because the music department went to Disney. So that's very common, and you definitely get that the noise factor is there, and not to kind of show the world how weird I am, but I enjoy things like ASMR, like sounds, and there's just something soothing. I don't know why. There's something soothing about a busy hotel. Maybe it's just because like I've fallen asleep in busy hotels before, but it's just kind of like hearing the hustle and bustle outside of your door has always kind of been endearing to me. And so I've never had an issue with that. I've stayed at super busy resorts. I've stayed at really quiet resorts. When I stayed at Coronado Springs, it didn't feel like anybody was in our wing. Like, it was the weirdest. I've never had that where it just feels like nobody else is staying with you. But man, Coronado is huge. Like that, if we're talking about big resorts, that's a very large resort. But it was weird. Like, you could walk around my entire area, and it just didn't seem like there was anybody else there. I mean, obviously when you get to the pool is always packed. But it's a little different out in these value resorts, especially Art of Animation, because it's definitely one of the more popular ones. Pop Century, which is actually, I didn't even mention this, Art of Animation and Pop Century are connected through the generation gap. And that's basically just the pathway that leads to each resort, but they're both right next to each other. A little history to go along with that is the Art of Animation was actually supposed to be like the Wonder Years, or like the it was some other type of Pop Century resort. So Pop Century was supposed to be this like giant mega resort. And what ended up happening was in 2001, we all know what happened. And just vacationing and travel completely stopped. And so that was kind of when they were building that area of the resort up. And so just everything completely stopped. And fun fact, the only area that they had up was the area that was originally, or that ended up being the Little Mermaid area. So that's all they had up, which is actually why that's the more value area, because all those rooms were already finished. But after a while, they kind of decided like, hey, we've got the money now. We can open up another resort. And instead of going with like the Wonder Years or whatever they decided that they were going to do, they went with Art of Animation, and they went a completely different way. So it's still kind of two different resorts, Pop Century and Art of Animation, but they're very much close and next to each other.
And the cool part now is they're kind of all brought together with the Skyliner, right? Like that's what you're getting for your extra money if you're staying at these resorts is that now you get to ride the Skyliner to Epcot or Hollywood Studios, which is an amazing piece of transportation. And so, I mean, that's another thing to think about when you're thinking about staying where you're going to stay is, do I just want the monorail or do I want, Skyliner? So, we got to ride on the Skyliner on this last trip, and I thought it was amazing. If you go to the Facebook page and dig deep in there, you'll find my live video from when I did go on the Skyliner, and you can kind of see a little bit of what it was if you have not seen anything about the Skyliner yet.
Yeah, and I was able to get on the Skyliner too. I do have to mention it's probably different now. Hopefully, it's different now. But I waited a pretty long time to get on the Skyliner. I remember Brian, you telling me about how you were actually able to just kind of get right on. So hopefully that's different now. And maybe I did end up going earlier in the morning, so people were trying to get to their parks and everything. But that is another great option for you if you're staying at Pop Century or Art of Animation. But I honestly, when it comes to resorts that I would stay at over and over again, Art of Animation is definitely one of them. Art of Animation, I would stay at. I would stay at any of the Valley resorts again, simply just because of just the nostalgia feel. But Art of Animation definitely the top value. I do value in air quotes, but definitely the top place to stay if you want a value style resort.
And let's be honest, you'll stay anywhere if you're on property, right? I mean, it's Disney. We all want to be at Disney. You'll stay anywhere.
Oh, that's completely accurate. Yes, I will stay anywhere. If you pitched a tent, I mean, you can literally do that. If you pitched a tent for me at Disney, I'd stay in it as long as you were letting me go to Magic Kingdom the next day.
Just as long as you're not sleeping in your car. But you can, yeah, definitely pitch a tent out in Fort Wilderness. Yeah, so definitely, this was great. I really enjoyed. This was a really good compare and contrast that we did. Kind of the one end to the other, right? So definitely come on out to our Facebook group, our Facebook page, either one. We want to hear from you guys. Let us know which resort we should have talked about. Which one do you guys prefer to stay at? I'm with Mikhailo. I'm staying wherever I can get a bed because I just want to be there. But Contemporary was really nice, and it's going to be hard to go to somewhere else, even though I love going to any of them.
And if you guys have any questions at all, I'm sure Brian is in the same boat where I have researched almost every single Disney resort hotel pretty extensively. If I haven't stayed there, I've looked it up because almost every Disney resort is an option. I mean, all the way down to Grand Floridian. I'd shell out the money and stay at Grand Floridian just because of how great of a resort it is. But I mean, if you guys have any questions, if you want us to talk about other resorts, if you want to talk to us about resorts, get on Facebook, send us an email. We have an email.
Miles from Main Street Podcast at gmail.com.
Perfect. And just reach out and let us know where you stay. Where do you call home? We hear that a lot with people. Brian had said it already once that he was home, but this is definitely we consider this place home. And all of these other resorts are when you're coming back from the parks, you're home. And so it really hits us down deep with these resorts, and we really like to call them home. But that's all we got for you guys tonight. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please rate us on iTunes and subscribe. Email us at milesfrommainstreetpodcast@gmail.com with any thoughts, and visit us on Facebook under Miles from Main Street. We'll be bringing more to you weekly and look forward to talking to you then.
Until next week, remember,
some live close,
but most of us don't.
So let's talk about it.